everyone, and welcome to our live stream. We are Envision Entertainment, an indie game studio currently working on a city builder called Pioneers of Pagonia. Maybe you already have heard of it. I'm Katharina, I'm the community manager, and next to me is sitting Volker, our creative director. Hi Volker.
Yeah, hello everyone, good evening, and I will have the pleasure to show you the new features of Content Update 1 tonight.
And before we come to that, let me talk you through what we have planned for the stream today. So the first half, Volker is showing us everything that's new in the upcoming content update. And in the second half, we are joined by my colleagues from our art team, Alex and Katja. So definitely stay tuned if you want to learn more about animation and mocap. You're more than welcome to ask away, ask all the questions you have in the chat. We try to answer as many of them as possible. I would say without further ado, just let us jump into the game.
Yes, and here we go. We start with the Fisherman update. First, we take a look at the lakes. You can already see they have been visually enhanced. They look much more beautiful now with flowers and plants. And here we can also see some fish swimming down there in the lake. So this in lake areas, there are trouts swimming in the water, but there's also fish in the ocean. Let's move over to a different location. There's not everywhere fish, so we have to watch a bit carefully. Here you can see that some fish are swimming close to the coast. But we get also some additional help to find them easier. So if we want to place a fisher hut like this here, we get highlighted which fishes that are currently visible are in range of the fisher hut. So for example, if I go with the building to the top left, you can see that the fish down there is getting out of range. So this seems to be a nice spot for a fisher hut. So let's place one here.
We already have an interesting question in the chat. I'm just going to read it out to you.
Sure.
Since fish were added to the game, is food available in bigger quantities per map, or was some balancing done, like reducing other food sources?
Yeah, some balancing has been done now since it's easier with fish additionally to get enough food. We've also increased the costs that you need to get new population. There's no change on nutrition food balancing right now because we also plan to have the underground mining feature soon, and this will also influence the consumption of food. So therefore we decided not to balance something on nutrition food, which we would have to remove again in a few weeks.
Next question, when does the next update drop? I think we can answer that.
Well, yes, we will talk about that later, I guess. But I will go on for now with the fisher. So as you've already seen, we have two different types of fish. The question is why and what for. Let's take a look at the marketplace. We have here our tavern and some market stalls nearby. Now you can see the market stalls with the blue roof. These are now for fish, and there's already some trouts and herrings in the market stall, and something just gets right now delivered. The cooks will pick up the fish depending on what they currently have best use for. So you can see there's quite some trouts still in the market stalls, while herrings are rare. That might be the reason that we have a lot of deer meat, which is also very delicious, which is also very good for comfort meals, available here in the meat stalls. So therefore, we have quite some additional trouts available right now. So comfort meals are for getting more population, while the nutrition food is for the miners. And therefore, the herrings will be used to deliver nutrition to miners. But there's also a second use. You have also the provisioner. The provisioner was recently able to smoke meat, but now the provisioner can also smoke fish. So herrings can be turned, as you can see here in the interface, into 3 rations. And these rations can not only be used by miners, but also, for example, by the explorer for his journeys. And you can also see that you can turn trouts into rations, but a trout will only turn into 1 ration, so the nutrition value is much worse. Therefore, the recipe is disabled by default, but if you want, you can enable it too. Let's take a look at the fisher somewhere in action. Here we have a fishing hut, and some fishers try to catch fish. Let's see. So there's, depending on how much fish is still left, there's a chance to catch fish or not. And the fishers will also automatically choose a good location where they still can fetch fish, depending also on the distance. And if they are not successful multiple times in a row, then the fisher will head back home, get new fishing bait and try a different location. But here we just saw this fisher was successful, returns home with the fish, the other one tries again. Here we have another one who returns obviously without any fish. So as you can see, it also depends on a good placement of the building and on the amount that is available in the deposits.
Great. Someone from the chat just wrote, lakes are very beautiful now, very cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So I guess our art team gets all these kudos. Yeah, and we can move on to the storages, I guess. So that's the next topic. We have a new big storage, which was also highly requested by the players. We can maybe place a new one. Let's go up here, and then we can also show something of the usage. So it's called the warehouse, and it has as much room as here. It has as much room as 8 small storages at once. Let's connect it with the road network here. And we can do some nice observation here now also. You see we've placed the construction site here, and you see all the highlighted units down here. So you can see there's a lot of diggers now moving to flatten the ground. Maybe there's not that much, there's only one coming because it's almost flat. But you can also see that the construction carriers are picking up the construction material. So they are not going down here to our main village and patching the construction material here. But we already have a storage with construction material nearby, so they can use that one. And we also have construction camps to make sure that the units can wait here to fetch the material. The storage also has an open look, so you can easily look inside to see what's in there. And if we select the buildings, then we can see the 8 different piles and what they have currently stored. So here in this storage, we have all types of construction material inside. And therefore, it's now easy to expand in this area without that much wait time, because material is not, does not have to go such a big distance. There's also a lot of settings in the storages. We can take a look here. If you place a new one, the default setup is that anything can go into the storage in each of the piles. That means as soon as any other production or resource buildings have half full output piles or more, they start reserving space in storages. So that means, for example, if your, let's say, woodcutter gets full of tree trunks, or let's say a toolsmith has output pile of hammers is full, so that might be that they then occupy some space in the storage system. And you can also define this additional templates, so to quickly set up the storage. We can go here from the default setup and change it to a construction depot. If we turn it into a construction depot, that's just a template, then all the different construction materials are now selected for the different piles. But we can also modify it. So for example, we say, okay, but we will not place anything that needs cement here. So we can change that pile and say, okay, let's instead store border stones at this location. And you can also do this in advance. So while the building is constructed, you can already decide what to store inside and create your setup.
There's lots of appreciation in the chat for the warehouse.
Thanks.
I have a question for you. If you have many storages, how are the commodities being distributed?
Yeah, the commodities are distributed in an even approach. So that means we did some changes here. The distance does no longer really matter that much. It's more that each pile that is defined for a specific type tries to even out the commodities transported there. I can show you this and with some example. Here we have a guard tower with a storage of border stones nearby. There are currently 4 inside and another one is coming. So we have here another tower with border stones. There's currently 11 inside and 2 are used. So the system tries to supply each of those storages to make sure that the buildings next to it can be supplied. You can see the garrison here has less border stones in the storage next to it. The reason is probably that there are 25 guards here using the border stones, so it's faster. And we can also change the setup. So for example, this tower is almost done. There's almost nothing it can still claim. It's just very far away over here. So if I now say to this storage, okay, instead, let's say we want to empty it, then the border stones, which are inside the storage, get immediately redistributed to all the other locations. So you can now see that there are still 9 inside, but already 7 are planned to be picked up to go to other locations.
Great. There are lots more questions in the chat for the storage. I combined 2 of them. Can we define our own templates in the future? And will it be possible to save custom templates?
Saving and creating your own templates is currently not possible, so you can manually change it completely as you like. And of course, you can also use the current templates which are existing and then modify them. So for example, let's go here. Let's say we want storage for tools. So there's a predefined choice, but maybe that's helpful because you now have to do less clicks, but maybe you want to change something. I will quickly explain what's here. So it's defined like it stores shovels, hammers, pickaxes, and backpacks. And the other 4 piles are defined for any tool. So that means that any kind of tool can go additionally into the slot. But maybe you want 2 piles for, let's say, sickles. So you can change that manually and do the setup exactly as you like. Additionally, that you can do your own setups and store them is a feature we could add in the future, but it's not yet here.
I'm not sure if we already covered it, but there's a question in the chat how the size usage is compared to the old warehouse. Maybe you could repeat that.
Yeah, sure. The new storage, the warehouse has 8 piles, and each of the piles has a capacity of 64. So the total capacity is 512 units, or 8 times the one of the small storage in comparison. So a small storage, which looks like this, has room for 1 pile. Yeah, exactly. Let's take a look quickly here at the other storage we had before, which we emptied. So the final 3 border stones are still getting removed, but empty means also the ability to make sure that the stuff gets removed from this location, because that's also sometimes of use, but you can also use it, of course, in a different way. So for example, here we have a quarry nearby, and maybe at some point there will be too much limestone. So we can now also go here, choose stone, and change the interface here to limestone. Then, which means now it should store limestone, and after the final unit of border stones is removed, which is still inside, then they start to pile up limestone here. In the building itself, you can also set priorities. I will load another save game to explain what it's about, the priorities. This one is the best one. Here we have a warehouse which already stored some copper, and as you can see, I marked those 2 piles as priority. So to explain that, normally you can only set buildings to priority, but with the warehouse now you have also the ability to manage that for individual commodities, because maybe copper has some kind of priority to you, but wood does not. And therefore, what happens now is that this is a higher priority than the economy level. It means that all the copper which is left over will now be transported to the storage here. So you can use this to hoard resources. For example, if you want to use them later and not now, maybe because you're undecided if you want to create more tools with it, or if you want to create copper coins out of those, or maybe because you need to store them to impress another village with your amount of things you have stored. But the priority also has more flexibility we can do. We can see here's the toolsmith who could use the copper, but currently has none. Here's the mint, which still has 4 copper inside, but that was for previous deliveries, so it doesn't get new supplies currently. But if I now say, for example, all the copper that is inside should only be used to, let's say here, to create coins, then I can also set the building now to priority. And this means that you immediately can see that all the copper is now brought to the mint. The units are already starting to go here to the storage to pick it up. So that means that storage with priority will hoard the things, but it will deliver still to all the buildings which are set to priority. Also very useful, for example, if you want to trade something and want to make sure that the commodity is moving over to the other faction and not used in your own economy and transformed into something different, and then it's gone. Yeah, I think that's all for now about the storages.
Shall we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, then we have the statistics. And we have added a lot of different statistics to the game. Let's first take a look at the commodity statistics, which we have up here. So whenever you go now to a commodity, you can also now see how many of those commodities you have produced and how many of those commodities have been used in the last hour. So here, for example, we can see that, let's take a look here for softwood beams. So you see we are still producing a lot of softwood beams. We have already 300 stored, which are currently not in use because I'm not building new stuff since quite some time now. And the red marked area is the ones which means it's used. Or here, for example, for firewood, you can exactly see how much we use here, and that it's almost, let's say, roughly in balance. So we have some firewood available, but it's not that much. The amount which is produced and used is quite similar. This is very helpful, for example, if you want to see, is your production increasing? Is it decreasing? Do I need to build more of something? How much stone do I produce per minute? So right now here we have a good example. We had up to, let's say, 7-8 stone per minute. Recently about 5, but now it's going down quite some, and that might be the reason that the quarries have no more stone in the vicinity and need to walk a much bigger distance or don't have any stone available at all. So it might be a good time to again place new quarries or search for new deposits.
There's currently no question in the chat, but I have one for you.
Sure.
What about the stolen items or the traded items?
Yeah, that's also visualized. So if you look at the statistics, right now on this map I don't have enemies, but you see the color markings in the description below. That means if you trade commodities away, or if you gain some by trade, or if thieves or bandits are coming and stealing your commodities, both of these things are shown too in the statistics, so you have, let's say, also these details available. There's also a lot of more data and information about the units, where we have added statistics. So with our first quality of life update, we added a lot of data already. So for example, you can now see how many newborns you get per minute. This is currently 3.2, so our population is still growing. And but now we also have a graph for that, so you can see how many you get. And now, as you can see, it's somewhat decreasing. So either I have not enough comfort meals maybe available, or all people are busy carrying, or I need more residences. And yeah, we can see the balance of homes is going close to 0. So this is a graph which tells us how much room we still have left. So the residences we have room for 165, and the ship for another 500, but that's almost used up. We only have room for 30 more units, and then we are completely full. And we may even get to the point that we are coming into negative range, and then the people stop eating, and there will be no new Pagonians in your economy. Here we also have an interesting statistic, which is the carriers and also the idle carriers. You can see that the amount of carriers was continuously increasing, so that's because of the new population I gained. But for, let's say, about 30 minutes, all of the carriers were completely busy. In the recent minutes, since I right now don't play at normal game speed, of course, since I'm explaining everything, now there are again idle carriers, as you can see with the blue graph. And this is a really important number. If you have no idle carriers, your economy is sooner or later getting into kind of trouble, because only the more important transports will be done and the less important transports will wait. We have the same information, for example, here about construction site carriers, about diggers. Since I'm not building anything, they are right now all idle and all available. But as you can see, for example, most of them were busy some kind of 45 minutes ago. We have also information here about meal quality. There's two types of meals, as mentioned, the comfort meals to increase population and the nutrition meals to supply your miners and also for the rations for the explorer and others. So you can also see here if the ingredients which are used are good. And you can see both curves are going down. The food details of the tavern, of the prepared meals are not yet in the game. This will come in a future update. But we can also take a look at why this may happen. And if we look here, we can see, for example, that we have almost no foods left. So the foods are no longer added to the meals, and therefore the quality is moving down. So we have now fulfilled an objective with one of the other factions, and therefore we get some firework here. So
Yes,
that
you won the game.
yeah, almost, not really yet, but yeah, one of the objectives I started to fulfill before is now completed. We can, but we can use this or not yet. There's one flower to find, and we could merge with another faction. That could be interesting to take a look at the statistics after, but well. Also, final thing about the statistics, here's, for example, the graph for wealth. We also have an information about the units. Well, I didn't recruit anything in the last 45 minutes, so it's almost empty at the very left border. You can still see something. So the amount of units recruited and which are also killed in combat or which are potentially demoted by enemies are also visible here. So you get an idea if your losses are high or not, or when have they been lost, and get a better overview about what units you may need.
We have a couple of questions in the chat, but I think we will move them to the end of the stream.
Okay.
Because then you're gonna talk about upcoming features anyway.
Yeah, now I will explain a few things which also have been changed and improved in the recent weeks and months. And one thing that people were really were asking a lot was to get a bigger camera distance. So let's say with the original release of the game, the camera distance was probably about like the level I show right now. And now we've optimized the graphic visualization in several areas, also the LOD, which means level of detail for the different assets to make sure that the performance stays good. And this allows now to zoom out quite some more in the game and get a better overview. And I guess that's really appreciated. So this is potentially not the end. So we will continue to work on performance, of course, and then maybe we are able to adjust the camera abilities even more at a later point in time.
I think you can always see the distance quite good if you go with the camera to the ship, then you see how far the ship, then you get more a sense of the distance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool and really highly requested feature by the community.
Yeah. What we also did is we changed a bit of the map flow, so we added two new predefined maps, which are between the previously, which are a bit easier than the hardest map was before, but a bit harder than the ones before. So there's also some new maps available in the predefined section. Some new music is in the game, and with the quality of life update recently, we also added other features. For example, it's now possible to select units. We can take a look maybe at the military unit. Let's see here, this one. Yeah, we have them. Let's move over here. So if you select a military unit, you get also information about what kind of unit is that, what can it do, what is the combat value currently it has for combat. And if you have dead units, right now I don't have enemies on this map, but you can also select them and get information about what killed it. So you have an idea what happened recently if you missed a combat maybe in some area. Also the buildings are now able, the territory buildings, that you can pause the claiming process, which was also an important feature to avoid that your guards get regularly killed. in some areas where there are hostile, dangerous enemies nearby. And what also changed is that military buildings, which were walking in your city to reach their territory building, did not attack enemies. So enemies like thieves or bandits, or let's say discovered thieves, of course, were also still stealing stuff in your city, and your people were, let's say, still walking to their buildings. The priority has been changed here. So whenever they see enemies in your territory, the military units will engage and attack the enemies. Yeah, and that's about all here. I can show with the new stuff. So are there any more questions we want to answer?
Yes. There were a couple of questions in the chat. One was not particularly about this update, but I think it's still interesting to talk about. How does nutrition work, and how can a player improve their gameplay or get hints from the game?
Yeah, right now the interface for the food production quality is not yet in the game, so that we want to add a kind of a meal history that you can exactly see what kind of meals have been prepared. But basically it works like this, that the different food ingredients have a nutrition value, and the highest nutrition value, for example, has boar meat with 8, and the nutrition is then prepared in a meal, and the meal is delivered to the mines. And for each nutrition value, for each point of nutrition, the miner can go and work once in the process. So if he gets a meal with 10 nutrition values, then the miner is able to work 10 times before he is hungry again. And the nutrition values are, for example, for the best meal currently has, I think, 17 points. That would be for nutrition, it would be boar meat with 8, and the bread with 6, and fruits with 2, and water with 1, so which sums up to 17. And the worst meal right now, let's say from the cheapest generic components, would be just water with pumpkin, and that would be a nutrition value of 4. 3 for the pumpkin and 1 for water.
Great, thank you. Another question was, what is the fastest way to improve soldiers' strength?
Oh, well, of course, if you have any access to gems, for example, by trade, then of course it's a nice way to boost the power of the soldiers, because those gems are quite valuable. So if you don't need them for producing magic units, you can store them in the treasury. If you don't have that, then of course you have to balance it, because copper and copper coins quickly gets you up some kind of percentage bonus. So let's see where we are right now here in this game. We are at 116%. Yeah, our bells is at 25, so we have about 25, exactly 28 right now, copper coins stored. But of course you have to balance it, because you need the tools, and the tools might be short-term more important than increasing wealth. And the same is with silver, so you have to balance it. If you have werewolves as enemies, you maybe want to save the silver for the werewolf. So it depends on their choices where you have to decide what to do.
And are the coins actually used up by the soldiers, or are they stored in the treasury?
No, this is kind of the final reward. So if you win the map, all the treasury values will go to the soldiers, and therefore they are additionally motivated if there's a lot of things stored in the treasury. So they are not used up, they are stored there. But of course, coins are also often used in trades. So another choice, you have to decide at some point, you can maybe trade coins for something you really miss, and therefore, of course, reduce again your combat power.
Another question for the statistics, will it be at some point possible to see the statistics for a single house or a single building, for example, production building?
Yes, we are currently also working on a feature that we have a productivity for individual buildings, so that you can also see what this building exactly did during the last hour. But that's not yet in the game update. This will be in a future update.
Okay. Well, as we are talking about the future, can you share anything about upcoming updates? Because we have so many questions. What's coming next?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, one thing we can announce today, we have shifted the updates a bit. The co-op update will be the next one, and the beta for the co-op update will still start in March. So later this month, we don't have the exact date, but well before end of March, the co-op beta will start. And it will be then published and released after that, not in March, I can tell. And what is also coming, that we are preparing the next roadmap. So there will be information about news, what the game will bring next in a few weeks. So watch out and keep an eye on it. So you will get additional information about the upcoming features very soon, in a few
Great.
weeks.
Yeah, the chat is very excited about that. One last question before I let you go.
Sure.
When is the economy update released in the early access version?
Yeah, it will be released next Tuesday, so that's on 12th of March. The economy update will be available to everyone. Right now, it's already available in the beta version, so which is also accessible for everyone. So if you want to take a look at these features, you can do it anytime.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation of the new features. But stay tuned, there's more coming, since our artists will explain you a lot of interesting things about game development. So I will head out now, and I wish you a nice evening and see you somewhere in Pagonia.
Thank you so much for explaining everything, Volker, and have a nice day. Chat, please stay with me. I'm going to change the scene now, because now we're going to part 2, and I will see if our art team is already in the chat. Just stay with me for a couple of minutes.
So.
Let's see that
Wie
they
lange habe ich
join
gebraucht? 30 doch.
us shortly.
Ja.
Just wait. Okay, just checking up a couple of things. We're starting shortly. Bear with me. Sorry for the delay. Okay, good. I'm good to go now. So upcoming are my 2 colleagues, Alex and Katja, from our art team. I'm gonna take my headphones so I can actually hear them. And they should be here now. Hello, you guys. Welcome. We'll just hand over to you. You can introduce yourself to the chat. Welcome to our stream.
Hey, my name is Alex. I'm one of the environment artists here at Envision, and I'm mostly responsible for most of the buildings in Pioneers of Pagonia.
Hi, and I'm Katja. I'm the 3D character artist at Envision. I'm responsible for the 3D characters, but also the animation and the mocap.
I'm so glad we finally have some members of our art team in our stream, and we are going to show you some very cool behind-the-scenes footage. Let's just dive right into it. We will start with Alex. You have prepared some screenshots, and we can have a look at them now.
Yeah, so basically I'm just gonna talk a bit about what happens behind the scenes with all the buildings. So first up, we have this large storage building. As Volker already told a bunch of stuff about it. It was one of the most requested buildings that we had after after from the get-go, like after our first playing sessions, people wanted to have bigger, larger storages just to not be forced to build endless rows of tiny little storages on their islands. And yeah, we really wanted to bring this building out to the players. And of course, buildings like this are super important to have a proper setup for the logistics in your islands and in your economies. And we really wanted to give the players the ability to build concentrated trading hubs in their settlements.
Great. Could you talk us through the process of creating a 3D model, or if there are any kind of obstacles or problems you came across, especially with the warehouse building.
Yeah, so maybe you could show the next picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically for this building, we had, of course, some outer restrictions that we had to work on. So basically, we really wanted for the players to be able to see what's going on inside, and for it also to be like an efficient solution. As Volker already said, it takes up like about the place of 9 tiny little storages, and has enough space, like it has 8 piles for different resources. So basically it stores as much as 8 tiny little storages, but you don't have to think about all the road connections, and it's pretty much more efficient to have like everything in just one setup, so the player can just mark what they want to have inside here. And we also really wanted for the storage to reflect what the user interface also shows to the player. So basically, every slot that is in the UI also shows up in the actual buildings. And this is something that we keep in mind when designing pretty much everything for the building. It's what we call what you see is what you get. It's like a principle that we apply to basically everything in the game, because we really want to the players to be able to trace back every little resource on their island. For this particular building, it was also a bit tricky to find the right balance that the player can see inside and look what's going on, but it's still being like a proper building. But we managed with this setup now, and we're pretty happy with it. So it has like this open wood construction, and we also have like this nautical vibe that we try to build into all of the buildings. But I'll talk about that later more when we talk about the Fisher building.
I don't have a particular question about the storage building, but someone just asked if all the team cats are in the game already, because someone wrote earlier that the cats need to protect everything that's in the storage building.
So basically, I think we might be close to have all the team cats right now in the game. Of course, we always look out for new spaces where we can add some, but more to later on that, because there are actually new cats on the Fisher building.
Yes, I think, yeah, let's head over to the Fisher building. That's the next screenshot. Yeah, what can you tell us about the Fisher building?
Yeah, so this is basically what you can see in the game in the upcoming update. Maybe you head over to the next slide where we can see more of a behind the scenes look.
That's the one.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what you can see here is like some of the initial drafts that were made for the building. On the left side, you can see like this gray sketch. That's usually what the concept artists first start with, just like really rough designs where we explore what kind of shapes we want to use in the building, how we can already like from a really rough design point define like a unique silhouette to the building, so that the players are already able to identify the building just from the silhouette. And then later you can see the finished concept in the middle. It's made by Luise von Selle, one of our concept artists, of our great concept artists that worked on the game. And here you can see that we first had like an idea in mind where we wanted to add like some kind of pier to the building. But we later decided to go against that because we wanted the players to really place the building wherever they want, so they're not restricted to only place it on the shore. We decided then to lift the building a bit more up, put it on wooden stilts to still get this wooden pier feeling. We also added like elements like the fishing net and the rounded window, also this huge cloth to the back of the building, and the wooden ornaments, which all look a bit more nautical, because if you pay attention to a lot of buildings, we always try to have this nautical look in the architecture and in the ornaments, because our thought process is just like most of the Pagonians, they of course are seafaring and land on the island via a huge ship. So since that's their background, we always want to reflect it also in the buildings. Another example is, for example, the tavern, or which has like this ship element stuck in it, or the huge sails at a windmill that kind of look like a ship sail. And yeah, also of course the white and blue striped cloth to the right side, that also adds like a really nice maritime touch. Yeah, and on the right side you can see the finished model that is then put in the game. Of course, we also put some more props on it, and of course cats. And here on the bottom left, you can also see like one of the older, or like of the first iterations of the Fisher. This iteration still had like a net, but we later decided to give him, or the fishers in the game, a fishing rod, because it worked better with the way our fishing spots are set up and placed on the landscape. And to the bottom right, you can also see the fish designs that we ended up with it being the herring and the trout, the fish in the ocean and the one in the lakes.
Great.
Ye-
So, were there any other things that needed to be adapted, bringing a new building and new communities to the game, like the Fisher?
Yeah, maybe you can change to the next picture. Then we also still get a sneaky little look at one of the cats, if you can see it, on the sitting on the stairs there. But yeah, as maybe also on the next slide, as Volker already mentioned, when we add new resources like fishes, like fish to the game, this of course needs adjustments to other existing buildings that we already have in the game, because we have a very complex economy. So basically, if we add fish, we need, of course, a market stall that sells fish. Those fish need also to be then being able to worked into rations at the provisioner. And since we have fishers, we also needed additional recipes for the fishing rods at the wood workshop, and also places at the guild hall that store it. So yeah, basically, if we add such an element to the game, we also try to have like a really cohesive approach to it. And of course, something like this has effects on various other buildings.
What was your favorite aspect of creating the fishing hut?
I think for me it was really like interesting to be involved in the feedback, when giving feedback to the initial design of the Fisher building, because yeah, it was actually not an easy task for our concept artists to come up with this design. And I also really liked working on like just some smaller props on the building to give it like really this nautical look that we wanted to achieve here.
Great. I think there's one screenshot left. Oh no, there isn't. Okay. Well, besides 3D model design, you have another job here at Envision. Maybe you would like to tell us more about that.
Yeah, so basically, I'm usually I'm occupied with all the buildings, but besides that, since Katja is working remote, I am basically acting and supporting her with the animations, and most of the time acting as like the motion capture artist for a lot of the animations that we do. So maybe we can show some stuff here.
Yes, we have a clip of Alex in a mocap suit, and I know, chat, this is why you're here and waiting for it. So I'm just gonna play it in the background.
Yeah, so basically here you can see me just some in our Rococo suit. That's like a suit that we specifically uh, like got for this project, because like a year ago we were planning, okay, how are we going to set up all the animations for our game, because all of the animation works that we have in the game are super specific, and doing every from hand is like really a lot of work and a huge effort. And since we needed like super specific choreographies and performances for the buildings, we decided to do this with mocap. As you can see here, this is the Rococo suit, which works actually over Wi-Fi. So basically, we don't need any trackers or lights for the setup. We can basically just do it from my desk at work, which you can actually see there in the office. And we're super flexible and adaptable with all the stuff, because when we need some kind of animation, we can just I can just change into the suit, and then basically we can uh, record the stuff. Here you can see some animations that we did for the Fisher. As you can see, we didn't have any fishing rods in the office at that day, so I had to use an umbrella. But I think it worked out. And yeah, but I'm just the actor here. Most of the work actually goes to Katja. She's the one who can tell quite a lot more stuff about this. So I think at this point I'm gonna hand over the mic to her.
Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, let's switch then. Katja, should I just go to the next video then?
You can stay with this one for now.
Okay, good.
And
So,
then
can you tell us a little bit more about the motion capturing process then?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to talk a bit about how we come up with our choreographies. And usually we start just thinking about, okay, what character do we have, or what building is the character at that we are creating the animation for? Does the character work on its own or with a tool or something, or does he interact with the building or even with another character? And then we just see, I mean, as you can see, this is the space we use, and then we just see, okay, how much space do we have? What tools or objects do we use as a place sort of example? As example, the umbrella, which is which we also used for the death animations. And I don't know who the umbrella belongs, but it's kind of the unofficial mocap placeholder object now, because when we did the death animations, I was in the suit and we laid down some cushions from the couches that we have in our studio. And then our art director, Tim, was pretend stabbing me with the umbrella so I could get a better feel of how to react to getting stabbed and then fall over onto the cushions. So the motion capture process is often also not just me and Alex, but some other people and objects involved. And now you could go to the next clip, and we have two methods of capturing, both with the suit and the Rococo Studio. But as you see here, we have the opportunity to live stream our capture into Blender. So we can set up a scene with a building that the character is interacting with, and then just retarget the real-time capture onto our rig and base mesh. And then Alex can always see, okay, I have this space that I can use. I have to go this far to go from A to B if the character has to go somewhere, or I can use the table to lean on or something. And this definitely makes it a lot easier when we do captures that involve interaction with buildings. And in the next clip that you'll see, is just the Rococo Studio software where we did the Fisher, because he does not interact with the building. He just works outside of it. And usually for other work cycles, like the bakery, for example, we split our animations in idles and work animations. In idles, they're just doing something, waiting for a job to do. and the work is then the actual task they do. For the fisher, it was a little bit different because you could either success or fail, so catch a fish or catch no fish. And we split it a little bit differently. We have a start anim where he just throws out his fishing rod, then the middle part, somewhat like an idle, where he just stands around. And then in the end, it plays either a success anim or a fail. And in this clip, you'll see just one whole scene that we capture. So we sometimes just recapture multiple idols, for example, or multiple fail anims in one shot, or just the whole thing, and then I cut out whatever I need or split it and cut it with another part together. And we also do have much fun with this and do sometimes silly stuff, as you see the fish almost falling asleep or scratching his bum. These are just things that we sometimes just improvise and sometimes maybe save for later for a special rare anim. And but
So
then
great.
I can just choose whatever I want to use.
So what would you say is the most difficult part about mocap animations, or sometimes obstacles you have when working with it?
It's definitely difficult to get a feeling of how you should move to get it into the onto the character, because we sometimes do have to exaggerate our movement just so it translates better to the character. And so that and just seeing if it works or not. And yeah, I'd say this.
Do you sometimes get like references for specific movements and watch
Definitely.
videos of actual fishermen, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So if we do movements that we can gather some references, for example, fishing, we of course did that. Also, I'll talk later about the fishing rod itself and also how the rope flies. And yeah, of course, if there's reference we can use, we always do that.
Oh, great. I think I get to go to the next clip then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the fisher.
Yeah, this is the next step of what happens with the mocap data. We import it into a software called iClone. It's really great animation software where it gives me the possibility with different kind of tools to then adjust our animations or stitch different clips together. It does a really great transition. And for example, as you see here, I can just adjust the arm if I say, okay, I want it to be at this point a little bit higher, and the animation is still playing, and me not having to adjust every key in the anim. And so that's mainly where I just then polish the whole clip or stitch together a whole choreography for the character.
That looks so cool. And how did you animate the fishing rod then?
So the fishing rod, you could go to the next clip. Yeah. Was a bit trickier. It's not a human. It has not a human rig, so I couldn't really use iClone or the benefits of iClone. So for things like that, any animated props, I do it in Blender, and I just import the character animation into it and build a custom rig for the prop set. In this case, it was the fishing rod and the fish, because for the success version of the animation, there should appear a fish that would then catch onto the hook. And it was quite a tricky animation in regards of that, because of this rope that we have, and I attached the stick part of the rod to the character's hand, so it would just move with it. I hand animated the whole rope and flying thing, but it did look kind of weird in the part where the hook would be in the water and the character would move of course, the stick and it would move. It was just hard to animate this by hand. So I just connected it, parented to a spline. And with that, I had much more control because basically it would follow with the spline and the rope would move automatically. And with a bone in the middle, I could just adjust smaller stuff like you see right now, how whether the rope would be more straight or a little bit hanging. And that was, yeah, that was something new for me to do because usually the work cycle prop animations were a bit more easier, usually just bones than just animate, but it was definitely quite fun, challenging task. And the most rewarding part of this is then seeing it all in the game,
Yes.
where
Let's
it all
watch
comes
the
together.
in-game clip. Yes.
Yes. Especially when we then also add VFX, which I think then always connect the character or like here the prop, the fishing rod with the environment, and you really see how they all interact with each other.
I think it's so great to see how many small steps go into something what some people might think is simple, but it's actually not that simple. It's a fisher throwing the rod and catching fish, but seeing all the small steps behind it makes it even more special.
Yep.
Nice. So the next one is about the school of fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we have the fish anim as well.
Yeah.
So
So since our premise is what you see is what you get, we of course wanted some kind of visualization, whether there were any fish in the ocean or the sea, and approximately how much there were of them. So we thought of what animations we could create to show that, and we decided on one animation where the fish jumps out of the water, which is just like cute and funny anim, I think, and then fish swarms that would appear and then disappear again sporadically. And in the next clip, you'll see how I set this up. So we had the fish mesh already last year. It was done by one of our character art interns, Maximilian Pichler, back then. We had at that time we had one fish mesh with two different textures, the green one for the lake and the blue one for the ocean. Later on, we adjusted the shapes a little bit to make them just differentiate also in shape a little bit more. So the ocean fish is a little bit thinner and longer, and the lake fish is a bit more squashed and smaller. And it also already had a simple swimming animation from last year. So what I did then is just create some curves and attach 5 of the fishes to those curves, and which then they would follow. And yeah, that was basically the animation. We have this deeper version where they go deep down into the water and disappear. We later then realized we should create another one for shallow water, just because if the deep fish version would spawn very close to the shore, they would just disappear into the ground without having the time to scale down. So I just made another version which is much more squashed with only 1 and 2 fishes, so it wouldn't be so crowded to the shore. And I think it's pretty good balanced out as it is now. And of course, yeah, you can show the next clip at the ocean. It was also all rounded up with VFX, some bubbles and some splashes, and we I think I'm not sure if Volker already mentioned that, but we decorated our lakes and our seashores a little bit more with lily pads at the lakes and sea stars and seashells at the beach. This was done by our other amazing environment artist, Marius Kröger. And personally, I would say that the lakes are my favorite part of this whole update because it just looks very beautiful with the lily pads and the fish swarms disappearing back into the water.
I totally agree. It just adds so much to the game and just looks very, very beautiful. Again, it's so interesting to see all the steps behind the animation of the School of Fish, and that it's not as easy as one might think it is, and that just a lot of effort and a lot of craft goes into what you guys are doing. I couldn't react just a couple of minutes ago, but hello to all the raiders, if you're still here. Thank you for the raid. We are in Vision Entertainment. We are a indie dev studio currently working on the city builder Pioneers of Pagonia. The game is already out in early access last December, and today we are talking about our first big content update, the economy update with the Fisher, the great warehouse and statistics. And currently I have Katja and Alex with me, my colleagues from our art team, and they're showing us everything about animation, mocap, and also 3D design and modeling. I guess we are nearly at the end of our stream, but now is the time for you guys to write your questions in the chat. If there's anything you always wanted to know from Katja or Alex, now is your chance. And meanwhile, we keep looking at the beautiful lakes and lily pads. So, can Alex share his recipe for making bread? Well, Alex, can you?
I might put it into the community Discord.
Oh, yes.
But no guarantee that it turns out well, because it only works with a proper Pagonian oven, so you really need that at home.
We should have an official Pagonian bread recipe. That would be great. Who made the sounds of the POP enemies?
So these are made by our sound designers. It's basically an external company that we work with. So they should probably have more insight into that. But yeah.
Well, we definitely didn't do the werewolf sound, so no one from the team needed to imitate the werewolf howling. Well, if there are not any more questions, where is Misha? Okay, that's the last one.
She's on the bed there. She's sleeping.
For the chat, Misha is one of Katja's cats who are sitting at the bakery, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So there's another question. If we implement new animation improvements regularly, yeah, we do so. We always get like tons of reports from the community, also from our internal QA testers. There's occasionally something that breaks, some stuff that needs to be fixed, but in general, we always try to have a good quality in the game. And of course, you will see still some improvements during the next months as we support the game still, of course.
Great. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and it's so great to have finally the art team represented on stream as well. It was really some great stuff you guys showed, and I think also the chat liked it also very much. that just leaves me with saying goodbye to all our viewers. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to get in touch with us, you are more than welcome to join our Discord channel. We are quite active there, and maybe we're going to answer more questions if you have any more, or we inform you about all the new content updates which are coming soon. Volker already revealed this half an hour ago. Maybe I say it again for everyone who joined recently. We can share that we will release the co-op update much earlier than planned. The beta version will go live still in March, so stay tuned for that. And well, the release will be, of course, in the early access version much later, but I think soon we all can start the co-op fun. We already did some test rounds, and it's a lot of fun, you guys, so you can really look forward to it. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next stream. And bye, Katja and Alex. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having us.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you for everyone who's watched.